Welcome to this video on supported decision making. In this video, we will be discussing rights of a person under guardianship. The information in this video should not substitute for legal advice by a licensed attorney in your state. For more information, please contact a licensed attorney. This video is part of the Supported Decision Making Pilot Project and is funded through a grant by the Arizona Developmental Disabilities Planning Council. The partners for this pilot project are the Arc of Arizona, Southwest Institute for Families, and the Arizona Center for Disability Law. To start off today, I would like to read you a quote from Claude Pepper, who was a former U.S. Senator. The quote starts, "The typical ward has fewer rights than the typical convicted felon. By appointing a guardian, the court entrusts to someone else the power to choose where they will live, what medical treatment they will get, and in rare cases, when they will die. It is, in one short sentence, the most punitive civil penalty that can be levied against an American citizen." So, what are the rights under guardianship? And that depends, because when you're talking about rights under guardianship, there are two different lenses. You can look at rights under full guardianship or plenary guardianship, and you can look at rights under limited guardianship. So under full guardianship, the rights of the individual are taken away and decision-making falls to the guardian. In limited circumstances, the individual can still exercise decision-making authority, but the decision to honor those requests will depend on what the guardian decides. So for example, under full guardianship, if the individual, the ward in this case, wants to take a class at the local community college, that decision may be honored or it may be denied by the guardian in this case. But as we learned in the previous video, the guardian should really try to understand the wants and desires of the ward in order to really have an effective relationship with the ward. Rights under limited guardianship. Well, that depends on the court order. So some families, or under limited guardianship, the court will decide what rights the individual can retain. The individual or the prospective guardian can petition the court to retain certain rights. For example, if the individual wishes to retain the right to vote, he or she expresses this during guardianship proceedings. And when applicable, it is important that the parties ask the court to retain the rights that are specific to their circumstances. Otherwise, the court may grant full guardianship, and once the court does so, once the court grants the full guardianship, it may be difficult and costly to ask for certain rights back. So going back to voting again, and we're going to be using voting a lot in this video. Going back to voting, if the petitioner, if the ward fails to express that he or she wants the right to vote to be retained in initial proceedings, then the probate court judge may grant full guardianship, in which case the right to vote is taken away, and petitioning that and requesting that right back could take some time and some money. So here, like I said, here's some more information about voting under limited guardianship. What does the law say? Well, a person for whom a limited guardian is appointed shall retain the right to vote if the person files a petition, like I mentioned before, has a hearing, and where the judge determines by clear and convincing evidence that the person retains sufficient understanding to exercise the right to vote. So how do you file that petition, or how do you make that request? Well, it depends on each county, because each county has different forms. But you can go to your courthouse, the courthouse in your county, and you can request a form from the court clerk, or you can visit them online and search for the appropriate forms to fill out. What will the judge ask you at the hearing? So this is for the individual subject to guardianship. The judge wants to make sure that you are ready to vote, that you know what voting means, you know what your vote means, and you know what the consequences of your vote is. So in this case, the ward or the person subject to guardian would want to explain to the judge what their interests in politics are and what they think their vote means. If you are in full guardianship, so say you have a full guardianship, and someone has full guardianship over an individual. Um, Either the guardian or the ward in that case can petition the court to have that right reinstated. So for more information about this, the petitioner or the ward in this case can reach out to an attorney, a licensed attorney, to find out what those steps are. What are some other rights under limited guardianship that can be retained by the individual? Some of these include the consent to medical treatment, arranging education or training, applying for public assistance or social services, consent to outpatient mental health care and treatment, consent to making living arrangements, and consent to marriage. So these are just some examples that I pulled off of Maricopa County's petition for limited guardianship. There are other areas that you may want to retain, and for those areas, you should designate, or you should explain to the court what areas you want to retain. And for each area, for each item checked off, the court will determine if limited guardianship is appropriate for the petitioned areas. And I'm going to end with a quote by the Superior Court on Guardianship, just to convey how much of a big deal guardianship is. So, quote, "Guardianship is a serious business. A ward cannot vote or marry, get a driver's license, buy property, use a credit card, or take out a loan." So that pretty much encapsulates what we talked about in this video. It is a serious business, and it does involve a lot of rights being taken away. So when petitioning for guardianship or limited guardianship, it's always appropriate to really understand the breadth and depth of like what that petition is going to do and what is all at stake, and to have a conversation between the petitioner and the person subject to guardianship about any rights that may be retained, because it's an important conversation, and it is an important legal process. So for more information about guardianship and limited guardianship, you should visit your county's your Superior Court County's page or website. So, for example, I've listed Maricopa County's website. This may not be applicable in other counties like Pima or Pinal. So, in those cases, make sure you go to those specific pages. And for voting under limited guardianship, for information about that, you can uh, visit Arizona ACDL's website, and the link is right there to see a brochure about what voting under limited guardianship is all about. For more information on supported decision making, you can visit our website to download the training manual and activity sheets to help you make your own supported decision making plans. You can also find us on Facebook, where you can keep up on the latest news, trainings, and events. And you can see those links right there. And here is our contact information. So if you'd like to contact the Southwest Institute for Families, the ARC of Arizona, or the Arizona Center for Disability Law, you can do so by phone or by email. And with that, I thank you, and I hope you stay tuned for the rest of the videos in this series.